So it's not something I would ever wish upon anyone. You're never the same afterwards. Like, you're always going to be jaded.
In the moment that it happens, it feels like you will never be okay again.
So many emotions, and a lot of times it can feel like, how do you experience joy?
Your life changes. You have to adapt to a new normal.
You know, there's certainly some really dark days.
Some days I was like, okay, like I'm okay. Other days and I was okay, and then I was like, well, why am I okay? Like, I should still be sad. And then other days I was a complete like wreck.
I wish someone would have just said to me that it was okay.
People don't realize is that we just didn't lose a life, we lost a lifetime.
I can't do it.
My name is Erin Zeigler. My husband and I live in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, and we live with our two dogs, Lola and Toby. And we got married in 2011, but did not get pregnant until 2014. And our first pregnancy was an ectopic pregnancy that happened just very quickly. There really wasn't a whole lot going on with it. It just, the baby was stuck in the fallopian tube and it was gone before it even started, truly. But our second pregnancy was in February of 2015, and we went in cautiously optimistic is the way that they told us to come. And when we had our ultrasound, they saw heartbeat, but it was also in the fallopian tube. So at that point, they had to make the decision to remove the fallopian tube. So at that moment, that's when our baby died. Every year, it was more my mom. She would buy an ornament for actually both. We named both. Max was the first one and Grace is the second one. We do not know if they were boys or girls or anything, but we just felt that it was important to name them. And a lot of people have trouble understanding our story because there's no baby here. There never was a baby to see or even like a growth in pregnancy. So she knew that. And so every year she would buy an ornament so that we could put it on the tree, because that's what you do when you have little kids. But she passed away in 2019. And so that added a whole element to our story. So now I still continue the tradition, but it has changed for me a lot. Those first few years, I was constantly wanting to prove to people that I was a mom, but I don't feel that as much anymore. But we always do something on the 17th of February, which is when we found out that the baby, was going to pass away. But yeah, I would say the ornaments is something that we do just that's visual for us. And like I said, to me, it was almost proving to other people, this is for my child. Even if you don't understand that they're my child, we do. Something that's helped me is just continuing to talk about my pregnancies. For a long time, I was so embarrassed and so ashamed because I felt like people just didn't acknowledge that they ever happened. And so just telling myself that it was okay to talk about. Sometimes, usually in class, I'm a teacher, and so kids will often ask, do I have kids? And for years, I would say, I have 2 dogs. And I would try to, but now I tell them. And I teach in a Catholic school, which is amazing because I can say I have 2 babies who live in heaven, and kids really understand that, and they are okay with accepting it, sometimes even more than adults. Something that's helped me work through the grief is honestly just when people acknowledge it. Just saying my kids' names, just saying Happy Mother's Day. There are people that still won't say it to me, and I don't know why, but I've learned that I have to accept that, and they're not necessarily going to change their opinion, but I just have to find strength in myself. And my mom and I would always go out together for Mother's Day, because she was my mom, obviously, and she fully acknowledged that I was a mom too. So without her here, that is harder, but just finding something for me to do, not shutting it down, because that's something that I wanted to do sometimes, but I realized that's not helpful for me. I like to just celebrate the day. Zero. I was provided 0 resources. Maybe that's not fair. Maybe they gave me a pamphlet about ectopic pregnancies because they're really not understood, and having 2 of them is very unusual. But after I was released from the hospital, I don't know that they ever gave me anything at all. I just was sent on my way, and that was that. Now, they did have to check my blood level, or my blood, to make sure that, because sometimes when you have ectopic, there can be parts that are left behind, like not of the baby per se, but just pregnancy, that they checked on. But otherwise, I don't think I ever heard from anybody again. Something that would have been helpful that I see online now, I don't remember what the group is called, but I want to say it's the Still Remembered Project or something to that effect. And I always really struggle because I still am at the stage where I'm not 100% sure that people will always believe me that I'm a mom. So I don't always go to things like that because I think, well, those people had real pregnancies, and I know that mine was, but I still don't always allow myself to accept it. So I've never, because there are things out there for me, but I have to do the reaching out. It's very unusual that somebody reaches out to you. Like, I was nominated for this. That meant the world to me because it said to the world, this story matters too. So that was really special to me. I wish that others knew that it's very lonely, even when people say that it's not, or they say, I had the same thing happen, but you really didn't. Because like I told you, people, even if they've had an ectopic pregnancy, they haven't had 2, and then they might have other children, or like nobody's story is exactly like yours. So it does help to hear, well, I know my aunt's cousin's friend, or whatever people tell you, of course, because they want to relate to you, and I appreciate that so much. But they don't always understand that every single story is so different, and everybody's personality is so different that you don't usually see people reacting to it the same way. What I would say to a family that's going through loss or will go through loss is that in the moment that it happens, it feels like you will never be okay again. But you are in your own way, and your children would want you to be, I think. But when they're going through it at the beginning, you don't believe that. And you don't think that you're ever going to have a minute of your day where you don't think about it, or that the next pregnancy announcement doesn't break your heart, or that all of those things won't make you feel so sad. But I can only speak for myself that I can get through those things a little bit. It doesn't mean that I don't still have moments of sadness or that it's not in my heart, but thank goodness that you can move forward at least a little bit, because if you didn't, what kind of life would you be living? I think it would be really helpful to have a grief center in our region, because everything seems so out of reach sometimes, or if it's something that is affordable, easy to get to, that type of thing, I think that you're already so overwhelmed by what you're going through. You can't often think about, okay, I'm going to fly to Arizona or somewhere, you just think, if it's here in our region, then it might be open you might be more open-minded to it. And especially, I love that you included ectopic pregnancies, because I think that they are misunderstood or maybe forgotten at times. So I really appreciated that. So maybe just knowing that there's somewhere to go for every type of pregnancy loss or, infant loss, whatever it might be, is really nice.